ships get their turn. Am I marching? Am I marching? Walking with the ones who fail. Am I marching into hell?
Whoa, what happened there?
It's the symbol for infinity.
Well, eat up. Your breakfast won't stay warm forever.
It's true. Nothing lasts forever.
All right, you ready for this?
Blow it out of the water.
Okay, let's do it. Let's blow it out of the water. All right, today we have an entire episode devoted to the phrase, blowing it out of the water.
Which has come to mean a kind of overwhelming victory against the enemy, right?
Exactly right. And in that sense of the phrase, later we've got the finale of Breaking Bad. Could Walter White's machine gun booby trap really have taken out all of his enemies? But first, we're actually going to test the literal meaning of the myth, which comes from submariners from World War II. Apparently, occasionally, when they sent a torpedo toward a ship, they would watch that ship blow completely out of the water instead of blowing up.
How epic are we going to take this?
I figure we got to get pretty epic with it.
Cool.
Blowing a boat out of the water, instead of into pieces, might only happen if the relative positions of ship and shockwave are spot on. And to find out just that, the MythBusters are starting in miniature.
Now, when we say we're going to blow a boat out of the water, we mean specifically blow a boat out of the water, not blow up a boat. That's not what we want. So, we're going to start with this beautiful tank. It is large enough for us to detonate our miniature explosives. Oh, and our boat, which still needs a little bit of work.
Their 15 grams of black powder is perfectly scaled for a setup this size. But to find out if it can lift the boat rather than obliterate it, placement is key.
Now, we figured there's a certain depth at which the explosive reaches this optimal relationship between the water and the boat to send the boat flying itself out of the water, and that depth is what we want to find. Ow. And first up will be, I guess, our control. Perfect. Which will be the explosives at the boat on the surface of the water. All right, Honeyman, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go. Whoa! Let's go.
There's no more boat.
That was genuinely thrilling. That was spectacular and kind of shockingly beautiful. Look at how this glowing ball forms this 2-foot diameter hole in the water. It's almost perfectly spherical before it starts to collapse on itself. And the boat, well, the boat, she is no more. So, now we're trying to find the depth at which to lift the boat rather than turn it into a bunch of little chunks. And frankly, given the size of that sphere of explosion, I'm thinking about going halfway down, 12 inches below the surface for the next cherry bomb.
Okay, from halfway down the tank, 3, 2, 1.
This time, the boat's not been totaled.
We need a hose out of here right away. We got electrical cords need to be picked up.
But the tank has.
Me.
With more scale tests to come, it's all hands to the pump to salvage some science. But it's not all doom and gloom.
Well, our breech tank notwithstanding, that last test was beautiful. As it explodes, you can see this perfect sphere of fire expand, and as it's expanding, pushes the boat literally out of the water. It was exactly what we were looking for.
Oh, that boat is going straight up.
It's lifting it beautifully.
It made it at least to the rim of the tank.
At least to the rim of the tank. That's significant. Go. Unfortunately, the tank wasn't perfectly glued around the seams, so we're going to empty this tank out. We're going to reseal it. All right. We're going to try it one more time. Ah, yeah.
So far, we've set off 2 explosions, one right next to the boat and then one in the middle of the water. Now, both of those results were entirely different. And so this time, we're going to put the explosion much further away, right on the bottom of our tank, and we'll see what that does.
This is depth charge at the bottom of the tank. 3, 2, 1, go! Go! Boat upside down error, but no leaks. Go!
It would be kind of upsetting to be turned upside down instantly, though.
I believe that's the very definition.
Slowed down. It's clear that Test 3 did lift the boat up and out, but not as much as Test 2. Meaning come full scale, a depth charge positioned between the boat and the bottom may give them the result this myth needs.
We've learned that doing controlled experiments like this can sometimes give us clues that we didn't even know were there as to what's really going on. Now, in this case, what we saw was that if the explosive is too close, it'll blow it up. If it's too far away, it won't move it as much. Now, we'll be keeping all of that as food for thought when we go out into the full scale, and hopefully we'll pick the right ratio.
But before going large, what else is on the docket?
So, Walter White's machine gun booby trap.
Yes, the metaphorical testing of the phrase blowing out of the water. In the finale of Breaking Bad, Walt puts an autonomous machine gun in the trunk of his car, sets it off, and takes out all of his enemies at once.
Spoiler alert.
Come on, who hasn't seen Breaking Bad at this point?
Okay, well, if I remember correctly, that was an M60 machine gun.
Indeed it was. What are you thinking?
Well, that's probably got quite a kick. I figured we ought to go to the gun range and see what we're dealing with.
I like where you're going with that. Let's do it. Now, Walt's booby trap depended on a lash-down, autonomously firing M60 machine gun in the trunk of his car. But could the rig he built have even held on to such a legendarily powerful weapon? The gun fires 550 rounds per minute. That is a lot of lead. Well, in order to get to know the gun, Jamie and I are going to fire it here at the Chabot Gun Club to check how much recoil and power the weapon really has. Now, Jamie said he was coming with a gun, and he's around here somewhere.
This is the M60 machine gun. It was developed in the 50s for the U.S. Army and used by them through the 90s. Now, this is the iconic machine gun that you would have seen hanging off the side of a helicopter gunship in any Vietnam War-era footage. And it's what Walt had in the back of his trunk.
There's no doubt that it's some seriously heavy artillery. But is it so powerful
This is the heaviest gun I've ever held. You'll feel it push back.
that securing it on Walt's homemade mount is a mission impossible?
Let's do it.
To find out, Adam's starting slow by not going full auto.
Safety is off. All right, firing in 3, 2, 1. That was cool. I just fired 45 rounds from the M60. And frankly, it doesn't have as much recoil as I thought it would, but it is a heavy piece of machinery, and there is a lot of movement. The gun mount in the back of our car is going to have to withstand a lot of shaking, and not just for accuracy, but also for general safety.
With less push than predicted, Walt's plan may have potential. But will that change when the gun's cranked to the max?
All right.
Okay, here we go. Wow. Holding on to that M60 while it's firing a continuous stream of bullets is, well, it's kind of like trying to throttle a full-size and very angry snake, which, by the way, I've done. It does push back in line with the gun a little bit, but it's not too bad. It's quite a nice machine.
It's so far so good. But to copy the clip more closely, the guys are next adding a target.
Nailed it.
And that's not all.
Okay, here we go.
Because this time, Jamie's going to be firing 200 rounds with the gun secured on a tabletop tripod.
3, 2, 1.
Firing at its maximum capacity, the bullets leave the barrel at a rate of 9 per second. But thanks to the gun's weight and engineering, the recoil, especially when shot from a tripod, is surprisingly slight. Meaning that firing it from a homemade mount might not be Hollywood hijinks.
I think you'd be hurting.
Still to come.
Hey!
The guys go big or go home.
Boom.
And a special guest joins the Breaking Bad blowout.
That is the real deal. Vince Gilligan, the creator of Breaking Bad.
Can we talk business?
In Breaking Bad's grand finale, Walter White ended things with a bang. But would his rig really have rocked? To find out, it's time for the MythBusters to make their own deadly device.
All right, so we've got to set up the meanest practical joke ever.
So let's see what we got here. Okay, so I noticed a couple things. One is that it looks like the base of this thing is...
Oh, that's a chair base.
Yeah, that's like this thing.
Okay, so if that's a chair base, I'm going to write this down. I'm guessing that's the main pivot for the gun at its balance point.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a garage door opener.
Well, wait a second, and look at, on this one, it looks like he's used a wrench.
Oh, as a pivot arm.
Yeah.
Okay, so a wrench as a pivot arm. This is hilarious. Now there's the question of the key fob. There's three things that happen when he hits the key fob, which is, one, the trunk pops open.
Yeah.
And then there's the reciprocating action. The gun starts sweeping, and then it starts firing. And on there, close-up, we can see a package that is a gearhead-driven car door opener.
Right.
Which I feel like, properly levered, it could be a fantastic trigger pull.
Yeah. Well, so far, I'm not seeing anything that seems to me like a deal breaker.
Yeah.
So, divide and conquer?
Divide and conquer. You want to work on the key fob and electronics, and I'll start getting the rig parts together?
Okay.
The guys start by looking high and low for all the key components. The chair, the garage door opener,
This looks precisely like what we see in the show.
the wrenches, and a trigger pull.
This is a cool little device. It's meant for locking and unlocking the doors in your car. Oh, yeah! That would totally pull the trigger.
And with that, Adam can commence his part of the build.
That's how short it is.
Walter's chair-based gun mount,
Ah, hey.
which involves connecting some conduit to an office chair,
Yeah! Ah! You can't foil me.
and that's it.
That's pretty freaking cool. Dude! That's fantastic.
The garage door opener, however, is proving problematic. With the key fob failing to fire,
That would say that that is on.
Jamie delves deeper to unearth a complex safety system.
This thing has switches that tell when the door is closed or when it's open, and sensors so that you can't kill your cat or break your foot or whatever it is. We don't need any of that stuff.
Jamie needs to bypass the safety switches
We just want power to go to the motor, period.
so that the motor can be powered on and never automatically shut down.
I've hot-wired cars before, but never hot-wired a garage door opener for a car.
It may be a sophisticated circuit, but an hour later, and it ain't no match for the Heinemann.
Very cool.
With the door rig running, Adam next couples it to his gun mount, courtesy of the wrench pivot system.
Let's try a test. 3, 2, 1. Ah, what? Okay, that was too fast. Just gonna go on a limb and say that was too fast. I've hit my first big snafu, and that is that the key component of sweeping this gun back and forth, the garage door opener, spins way too fast. So I need to reduce its speed. And in keeping with Walt's clues together, whatever I can find in the local store's solution, still a few bugs to be worked out. I'm thinking I might use some bicycle parts to get me that gear reduction.
For the first time, Adam's having to go off script.
Couple of welds. Here we go.
And while this is not what Walt did, it is a fix he could have fabricated.
This is a moment of truth. 3, 2, 1. kind of abuse it's gonna be under.
With a turn speed that's way closer to Walter's,
Yeah!
Adam's addition should let their rig fire on all cylinders,
That's cool.
provided that Jamie's trigger delivers.
So how this works is that there are actually two of these, one on either side, and a pin that connects them. And the pin goes across the trigger. And so when these actuate, they both push back and push on the trigger that way.
Beauty.
Well, we have a plan.
It has not been an easy build, but we are finally at a stage when all the major components of Walt's build are here. The box end wrenches pivoting off a garage door opener, the gun on a chair swivel mounted to a piece of standard shallow conduit. I have added one thing, which is to get a 4-to-1 gear reduction, I've added a 10-speed cassette to the edge of the garage door opener. But again, all of this is stuff you could buy within a local town like Walt had to do. And check it out. It totally operates. It's hard to get excited when I find this one of the most terrifying machines we have ever built. Nonetheless, I'm pretty excited. Stop that.
In Blow It Out of the Water, Adam and Jamie's small-scale tests showed that a mid-depth boom could lift a ship up and out.
It's lifting it beautifully.
But can they repeat this feat when they go large?
When it comes to explosives on the water, there's not many places that open to us. But luckily, this quarry lake in Gold Country, Northern California, poetically named Pit 232, is always open for us.
And it's in Pit 232 that we're going to put this boat along with a buttload of explosives and see if we can't blow it out of the water. That's a lot of steel.
Now, while we've gone to great lengths to buy a really big boat made out of steel that is semi-close to the kind of military boat we're replicating, the sharp-eyed viewers among you might notice that military ships are almost never painted bright orange.
We've used a lot of boats on the show. This might be both the biggest and the ugliest, all at the same time.
When that bomb goes off, a lot is going to get obscured, and we want the best chance for seeing if our boat actually leaves the water, and the orange might be the thing that helps us see that.
Indeed, but before any boom, there are 3 titanic tasks to tick off. First, the guys need to raise her up, something that's easier said than done.
This whole thing is pretty finicky because if these guys don't get their rigging right, then the trailer could be damaged, the crane could be damaged. It's not the ideal situation for loading a boat.
We have liftoff.
Task 2 is to secure a centralized attachment point
Bang, right here.
from which their explosive will hang midway between the boat and the lake bed.
Jamie is now welding the ring to the underside of the boat, but that's not the most amazing thing that's happening right now. He also gave me his beret to hold. Ah, it's like alive. Handling it very carefully.
And the final task, as the sun sets,
Yeah,
is to lower her into the lake.
awesome. And she's in.
Walter White's ultimate takedown is a classic case of blowing it out of the water. But would his rig really have worked? To find out, Adam and Jamie have returned to the range, where they're back with a bang.
The bandits have arrived.
Their first job is to remove the prop gun and replace it with the real deal.
What could possibly go wrong?
Next, they add a box for the bullets
I feel good about that.
before tethering it in the trunk.
There we go. You through?
Yep.
That just leaves the battery, which Jamie wires in from the back seat.
All right, well, if everything is working correctly, this should turn on just like Waltz did with the key fob. Yeah. It's looking good.
You want to give it a jiggle? Come on! That looks good, Jamie.
Yeah.
I like it.
With the gun ready to go, the guys next need a drug den to aim it at.
We're pretty much only interested in what happened to the front wall of the house in the Breaking Bad episode. Now, our information is that that wall was made of stucco, which is a concrete or mortar-like material, and we're replicating that on our wall with precast panels of a similar material. So when our bullets hit this wall, it should behave pretty much like what it did in the show.
By replicating the house in the clip, the guys will see if Walt's weapon can take down the drug lords through the wall, provided that it goes off without a hitch. To find out, Adam positions the car exactly as per the clip.
What do you think?
I like it, Jamie.
But before letting rip for real, the guys want to do a proof of concept by firing blanks.
Unload the weapon.
120 of them.
Safety's off, guns hot. Mr. Heineman, you ready?
I'm ready if you are.
Okay, blank firing function test. Breaking Bad, Felina finale. 3, 2, 1. One shot. That test might not have looked like it went very well, but I am smiling because it went beautifully. We are looking for problems. We're trying to solve them before they become deadly problems, and that is a problem. We ended up with what's called a stovepipe. That's where one of the ejecting shells does not eject all the way and gets caught in the returning slide. Jamie's going to add some wire, hopefully, to fix it, and it should be good to go in a couple minutes. All right, with the problems potentially solved, 3, 2, 1, go.
Now that's more like it. With their gun finally firing on all cylinders, the guys are at last ready to take on this myth for real. To find out if you can ever blow a ship clean out of the water, Adam and Jamie have floated their boat.
And she's in.
Now they need to sink their depth charge.
Oh, that's really pinchy. A little pinchy. Ow, it's actually quite pinchy.
This thing is normally a septic tank, but we're not going to use it for that.
There we go, that's it. Awesome.
We're going to fill it with explosives and hang it underneath our boat to see if we can blow that boat out of the water.
Hey!
That's the plan, but it's not just explosives that'll be inside.
Sand!
So we need this bulb to sink once it's full. And we've calculated that to do that, if we put 2,500 pounds of stuff in here, it's not going to float. So given that we intend to put 1,000 pounds of our explosive in here, we need 1,500 pounds of something else. So that's why we're using sand.
Yeah, go ahead, get in, Captain Heineman.
Which is going to give us the correct amount if we put about 50 bags of sand in here before we put the explosives in. I like this thing. It's kind of cute, isn't it? Yeah, it's surprisingly stable.
But before adding the explosives, first, it's anchors away.
It's critical for our experiment that the boat stays exactly where we put it. So we are running into the reeds right now to set an anchor and a line which will go all the way across the lake and anchor our boat precisely where we put it so it doesn't move from there. It's like D-Day, except we're fighting reeds.
Having the boat drift out of place could spell disaster.
Yeah! That's it.
So it's no surprise that Jamie is taking this job very seriously.
Nice.
Adam? Not so much.
All right, sir. What do you need?
Seriously?
So I figured I'd get in the mood.
Whatever.
With the boat finally locked, there's only one ingredient left.
Let's get the bomb.
Let's do it.
1,000 pounds of ANFO.
Well, there it is. That stuff's going to go into our bomb and boom.
At this point, some of you might be wondering why we're using ANFO instead of something high explosive like C4.
I'd say that's a pretty good fit.
Well, there's actually a really good reason for that. It's a specific choice. It, in fact, is a slower speed explosive, and we want that push. See, slower explosives are used to push things. High explosives are used to crack them into pieces. We want the ANFO to lift this boat, not C4 to slice it in half.
By using ANFO, the guys are giving this myth a helping hand.
Let's go ahead and tie it in.
But will 1,000 pounds of it, a typical amount used in both mines and torpedoes, be enough to lift the boat high and dry?
Well, I think that ought to do it. We're sealed up.
To find out, the team tows the bomb to the boat before sinking it to a depth of 30 feet. exactly midway between the bottom of the hull and the bottom of the lake. Then it's go time.
For those of you playing our home game, I'd like to cover two distinct things. One, remember that our goal is not to blow up our boat, but to lift it out of the water.
It's all ready to go.
And two, I know this hat isn't regulation, but it's a lot more comfortable than a chapeau bra. All right, everyone, this is for real. Fire in the hole, fire in the hole. Detonating the boat in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Well, that's anticlimactic.
900 miles from Albuquerque, the guys have assembled all the Breaking Bad ingredients.
That is the gun, the ammunition, the classic car, a wall made of all the same materials as the target. Oh, right, and one other thing. How about Vince Gilligan, the creator of Breaking Bad? Vince, you ready to see this thing go?
Hey, man, I am seriously ready to see this thing go.
After giving Vince a glimpse of the trunk tripod,
That is the real deal. This is completely awesome.
and the drug den,
You might be one Nazi shy, but other than that, it looks pretty true to life.
he, for one, is confident.
How do I think this is going to go compared to our Breaking Bad fictional version? We've already seen the version with the blanks go off, and that looked like a dead ringer for what we did back in Albuquerque. I think with the live ammo, Walter White is going to be vindicated, at least in technological terms, if not moral terms.
I'm loading the weapon.
Well, with 200 live rounds locked and loaded, it's time to find out.
Weapon's hot.
Vince, you ready? Jamie, you good?
Let's see if this works.
All right, this is Breaking Bad, Walt's Booby Trap finale in 3, 2, 1, go!
Did you hear something?
Here it go. Nope.
Okay, stop.
Powering it off.
Well, we're not even sure what exactly has gone wrong, but we're proceeding very, very carefully. We've got a hot, loaded machine gun in that trunk that for some reason didn't fire.
No, hold on a second. Hold on a second.
Slowly but surely,
Okay, you ready?
the guys remove a blockage in the barrel
Come on, baby. Gun is safe. The ammo's out.
before resetting for take two.
All right.
Ready to go again?
I am ready.
All right, Breaking Bad finale, Walt's Booby Trap. Final test, hopefully. 3, 2, 1, go! What the hell?
Power off.
Power's off.
Man, the tension here is more than I would have thought it would be.
Can I get one more hose clamp, a bigger one?
And it makes me think, what kind of nerves must Walt have been feeling, wondering whether or not that little key fob clicker of his was going to make this thing fire or not. It makes you think.
In the clip, Walt's fob seems to work first time. But the guys are giving him and this myth one last chance.
Vince, you're good.
Third time's going to be the charm.
All right. Breaking Bad, Walt's Booby Trap. Test in 3, 2, 1.
Oh, yeah. That's the stuff.
That was an adrenaline rush.
That was awesome.
Oh my God.
That went on longer than it did when we did it for the show.
Our rig worked. It actually swept back and forth. After all of this work, the rig worked. I have to say, my hat is off to Walter White for getting his to work on the first try.
It took a while, but part one of the myth is back on track. Walt's rig worked.
There's such a wide swath, man.
But how's part two looking?
That's really low. Look at that.
Yeah.
Like 7 feet off the ground.
Did the bullets make it through the wall and into the enemy inside?
Also, look, that's a tumbling bullet. That is an oblong bullet-shaped hole. This bullet didn't go through while spiraling.
Let's see what's behind here.
All right. Oh,
Uh-oh.
dead dude. Dead dude. Dead dude. They're all dead. And Walt is okay.
So the plan wasn't entirely crazy, I guess. I
No?
mean,
What a horror show. It's one thing to watch that gun work from behind the blast chamber. It's quite another to view the damage and the carnage after all the bullets have hit their mark. It is gobsmackingly disturbing how effective a booby trap Walt designed, and it is a testament to the show that all the damage we saw in Breaking Bad, we have been able to replicate in an actual experiment. I'm thrilled.
the main thing that I see from this test is the fact that it wasn't a clean line across the building. Walt's plan to actually dive to the floor and be safe was really very risky because I'm seeing bullets that went down. The vibration in this thing is so massive that those bullets weren't just going in a straight line.
Jamie's absolutely right when he says that Walt was taking a big risk to be lying on the ground when this thing went off. However, I would like to point out a couple of salient elements. He didn't really necessarily intend to survive this escapade. He knew he was dying of cancer, and all that really mattered to him was taking out these Nazi sons of guns. And B, he did get shot, in fact. Took one in the side, I think it was this side, and of course that led to his demise. But I guess the only thing he ended with is just to say, that was amazing. That was really something.
Vince, like Adam and Jamie, is thrilled at the result, but not 100%.
I got to tell you, I'm elated because our rig worked, but you must be ecstatic.
Yeah, I am ecstatic. You know, it's the little things though that get you. I'm looking at the grouping of the rounds as they appear in the front of the building, and I'm annoyed at myself because when it came to placing where the squibs would hit, I was out there with a drill gun, and I'm thinking, yeah, I think a bullet would go here, I think one would go there.
But
Had
you
a lot
didn't think
of fun
that they
doing
would group up at the end of their run?
I missed that the rig has to stop and then double back, so there's a lot more grouping at the tail ends, and I kind of missed that detail, and I'm mad at myself.
I appreciate your dedication to the correct physics.
Right.
I am happy that I believe we can finally call a Breaking Bad test plausible.
Yeah!
instead of busted.
We finally got one.
We finally got
1 out
one.
of 3, that's not
bad at all.
That's good in like baseball.
Yep, it was unstable, volatile, and dangerous. But given that the rig eventually worked and the bad guys were brought to justice, there's only one conclusion left to make.
Plausible?
Plausible.
Plausible.
Let's get out of here. Yes! 3,
Still to come.
2,
There's fire
1.
in the water hole.
I know that some of you are probably thinking, what are you going to blow up a bomb in that lake? You're going to kill the fish and the frogs and stuff. And that is totally reasonable to question. But let me explain that Pit 232 here is a quarry lake. As such, its pH level is slightly acidic, about 5.5. And because of that, even though you see the reeds around the edge, there are no living things within this lake. Nothing for us to kill. It's like perfect for blowing stuff up. Underwater explosion in 3, 2, 1.
Having failed to blow anything out of the water,
Well, that's anticlimactic.
the guys have wired up a new detonation device that's good to go.
All right, everybody. Blowing the boat out of the water for reals this time in 3, 2, 1, go. Look at that! That was astonishing. What a geyser.
We did blow the boat out of the water, but there is no more boat.
I think technically what we did was we separated the boat into hundreds of little pieces, which we then blew out of the water.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. Well, our blast happened about 10 minutes ago, and the surface of the water is still incredibly agitated. It's like the water is still reeling from what we did. Absolutely one of the most astonishing phenomena I have ever been lucky enough to witness. Unfortunately, we didn't blow the boat out of the water. We just blew the boat out of existence.
The goal was to lift the intact boat up and out of the water, something that clearly didn't happen. So was it a case of too much explosive, or is there another explanation at hand?
I figured what actually happened here was really quite simple. When the bomb went off, it created a bubble of rapidly expanding gas, which eventually made its way to the surface of the water, where the boat was. Now that opened effectively a conduit through which all of that energy could flow, where it can follow a path of least resistance, and that happened to be straight up right through the bottom of that boat, and that's why it was so destructive. So the way I see it, unless the boat this is happening to is incredibly strong, there's no Goldilocks formula of amount and placement of explosive that is going to gently lift it out of the water. What's always going to happen is this literal upward-facing cannon blast, which is going to punch a hole and decimate the boat. And so, as far as I'm concerned, it's not looking good for the myth.
Jamie's theory seems sound, and the footage of a near vertical blast with very little debris flung to the side does back it up. So what's the verdict?
How do you want to call this?
Well, it's busted. There's no boat left.
There's no boat left. We gave it our best shot. The small scale seemed to lead us to believe that this would work, but no, we blew it to smithereens. It's busted.
Yeah, so what's next?
Well, usually at the end of one of these episodes, we walk off into the sunset.
Sun's already set.
Yeah, it has.